feel smarter than GPT-4? Okay, how many of you think you're still going to be smarter than GPT-5?
I was expecting more hands here.
I don't think I'm going to be smarter than GPT-5, and I don't feel sad about it because I think it just means that we'll be able to use it to do incredible things. And like we want more science to get done. We want to enable researchers to do things they couldn't do before. This is like the long history of humanity. It does feel a little different this time because of what this can enable, but if scientists can do things because they have like a crazy high IQ tool and they can focus more on figuring out the right questions to ask, address things quicker, do their search space faster, that's just a win for all of us, so we're thrilled to get to enable that. Personally, the single thing I'm most excited about is what this is going to do for scientific discovery. I believe that, if we can accelerate scientific discovery, if we can do 10 years of science in 1 year, and then someday 100 years of science in 1 year, what that'll do to quality of life, like solving our most pressing problems, addressing the climate, making life just better in all sorts of ways, curing disease, that would be an incredible gift, and I think AI is finally going to enable that. I would say, I think we'll get to something in the next couple of years that many people will look at and say, I really didn't think a computer was going to do that. And then I think we'll get to something that can do the scientific progress question, 10 years of science in a year or whatever. That's further out, but that will be the moment where I think the world really kind of changes much more quickly and gets huge benefit. It does look like we're on a pretty steep trajectory. There was, people love to be the doomsayers, so there was all this stuff last year about scaling's over, this is, they're not going to work, and we found a new paradigm, and we now have these reasoning models, and they are really smart. And that's going to scale for a while. And then I expect after that we'll find another paradigm again. So, one thing I've learned in general is whenever you see these steep exponential curves in technology, you shouldn't bet against them. And I think you should all be very skeptical when people start saying this is about to run out or that's about to run out or we're going to hit this limit. It does look to us like we have this fundamental unlock of an algorithm that can really truly learn, and that's going to keep going. We will hit stumbling blocks, we'll have to figure out how to overcome them, but I think we will get to AGI and beyond, and it'll just be a pretty smooth scaling from here.
Okay, maybe a follow-up on the question on that. Who would be, in your view, currently best equipped to independently vary claims of achievement of AGI?
The only thing that matters is the amount of utility it provides to people. So if it's useful to you, if it's useful over some threshold, if it's useful to you, great. And if a bunch of experts want to debate if it's AGI or not, I don't think it matters at all. I think it is going to be just this continuous exponential, this continuous rising utility. And the only question is how much is it helping people, how much is it helping the world?
What will Stargate, do you think, enable that OpenAI could not have done without, in this case, the joint venture?
Yeah, there are two things. One, with a much bigger computer, you can train much better models. And I think the world doesn't want us to stop at GPT-5 or GPT-6, but we'd like to see that keep going. And I think Stargate will enable us to stay on the same curve of improvement we've been on for the last few years for the next few. And should get us to, I think it'll get us to extremely capable models. The other thing is people really want to use these systems a lot. As we make more progress, we continue to drive the cost down. Roughly speaking, every year we can take last year's intelligence and make it 10 times cheaper, and then 10 times cheaper again. Moore's law changed the world, doubling every 18 months. This is a 10x every 12. It's a super powerful difference. But when we do that, the demand to use those services seems to go up way more than 10x. And also, as we train these truly capable models that can use a huge amount of compute inference time, you might really be willing to go use quite a lot of compute to cure cancer. And so the amount of compute we think the world is going to demand to run these services is going up pretty steeply. And if you look at our own inference consumption, it's going like that. So that's the other part of the project, is to enable people to use this. Hundreds of millions of people use OpenAI's products right now. It'll be billions soon. and they use them a lot. They want to use them even more. Well, I'm very convinced that most Europeans want AI to be used here, to happen here. They want it to revitalize economic growth. They want to drive science. They want European infrastructure, and so do we. We would love to do like a Stargate Europe. We need help, but we'd love to build something here for Europe that government operate someday. I think that'd be great. We want to be able to deploy our products in Europe as quickly as we do in the rest of the world. I think a strong Europe is really important to the world. I think Europeans will do great stuff with the technology. I think the European people will have to decide how they want to set the rules for this technology. We'll obviously comply with whatever they are, but, and obviously I'm biased here, I think it is in Europe's interest to be able to adopt AI and not be behind the rest of the world.
How do you see this for a US company looking towards Europe?
We will comply with the law and respect the wishes of the European people. You all decide. Follow the rules.
Nicole? So do you agree?
But you do have to decide. Like, if there are benefits to different regulatory regimes, and there are going to be economic impacts that will become societal impacts.
I guess after the release of DeepSeek R, you recently also said yourself, I think on Reddit, that OpenAI has been on the wrong side of history in regard to open source. So what does this release actually, or in general open source, mean for OpenAI in terms of competitiveness, but also in generative AI in general?
Yeah, I think there's clearly a place for open source, and open source models are good to have in the world and will provide a lot of value to people. We can debate whether or not AGI should be open sourced, but I don't think anyone can debate that these models at their current level don't create value being open sourced. So I think it's good. We have a lot of priorities, which is why it's easier said than done, but I'm happy that there's good open source models out in the world.
And are you currently also having discussions within OpenAI?
We don't have a decision yet, but yeah, the models are getting incredibly efficient. If you think about the watts per token, they get really high quality answer back. Like, yeah, probably we're like more efficient than asking a human and the food they need to eat to like run their own. Like, they're getting super, super efficient. I remember a long time ago when Google first came out, there was this sort of moral panic because people said, oh, you're like, to ask that one question, you're using all this electricity in the data center, it's horrible. And I remember thinking, well, what that's replacing is someone like turning on their car engine, driving for 15 minutes to the library, looking something up, driving back. And even if they do it 100 more times because their friction is lower, it's way less energy use than before. AI today uses a tiny amount of the world's energy. It's actually quite efficient per query. And the framing that I'm most interested in, like, there is totally a world where we say, we're going to ban AI, it uses too much energy. We're going to ban computers, we're going to ban light bulbs while we're at it, and we're going to sit in the dark, and we're not going to burn any energy. That is a world we could choose. But there's another one where we say we're going to use AI, even if we have to use hundreds of megawatts or gigawatts on this problem. If we can use AI to discover how to do efficient fusion, cheap fusion, and then very quickly replicate the thousands of gigawatts of generating capacity that's burning carbon around the world, that would be a huge win. And I think that is the promise of AI. So I could sit here and make arguments about efficiency, but what I would really say is we are totally screwed if we do not come up with new scientific solutions to address the climate challenge in front of us. We clearly have failed to do that fast enough on our own without AI. Let's try it with AI. Yeah, I think there are people who don't count it as an AGI until it's like a self-replicating, self-improving space probe or something. I will count it personally as AGI well before that milestone. And yes, of course, we have a responsibility to tell people if we get close to that. We will. We will tell people that.
Do you know how?
I will tell people.
No, how to communicate that, and how to check, like how to even see that desire.
Oh, how we would see it in the system?
Yeah.
I think it'll feel sort of gradual. People talk about self-improvement as this very binary thing, but really it'll be like it can help the scientist work a little faster, and then a lot faster, and now it can do more, and now it can do more. And so I don't think it's like a clean binary, but we'll see something about the rate of the slope changing.
So how can we basically trust also these models that are all black box for us currently in terms of explaining AI?
I mean, I use products every day that I don't understand how they work. And if I understand what an input, like if a particular input will give me a particular output, I can use incredibly complex systems. Like maybe I understand how a car works. I certainly don't understand how an electron microscope works. I mean, I could like sketch out on a napkin, but I can't go make you one. But I could use one, and I think that's fine. I think we do need to have a high level of robustness and predictability and generally accepted safety for AI models. But also, users are sophisticated, and they understand, like again, a lot of people use ChatGPT for important stuff. And on the whole, they understand super well when to trust it and when not to. And yeah, probably most of them couldn't go train it, but that's okay. Like that's the economic value exchange of the world. Some people build something they understand enough about how it works. We don't understand it perfectly, but we understand it surprisingly well. And the beauty and our job and what we get paid for is we want to make it so simple to use that you use it, it delivers great value for it, and you don't have to like think about every detail of the training process. Better algorithms, bigger computers, harder data sets to train on, building better products that help us learn more from feedback with users about what's not working. But I cannot overstate how much progress I think we're going to make in the next 2 years. Like, we know how to improve these models so much, and there's not an obvious roadblock in front of us. We gotta go build Stargate. We gotta like go do a lot of great engineering. Our researchers need to keep doing stuff, but the progress that I would expect from February of 25 to February of 27, I think will feel more impressive than February of 23 to February of 25.
If you were a student today, how would you prepare for the future?
At least I'll let you start.
I think, continuing to think, right, critically think, I think will be quite important. I also think I like this word liminality. I discovered it recently. It's the status between what has been and what will be. It's the intersection of it, and I think we're all maybe feeling some of it. Like the past is we're running, it doesn't give us more options, but the future, we can feel what's happening, but we don't know exactly what's happening. And so to be able to deal with this state of liminality and ambiguity and still remain in a constructive, action-driven, outcome-driven way. So embrace this, embrace that things are changing. It means it's a lot of opportunity, and I think that's also a mindset question.
The obvious tactical thing is to get really good at using the tools. When I was in college, the thing to do was learn how to program, and that was great. But programming at the beginning of 2025 and at the end of 2025 are going to be completely different things. And you want to be on the good side of that trend. So learning how to use AI tools, learning how to just sort of do way more than you could before, that's the obvious tactical thing that makes sense. I think the sort of less obvious things are adaptability and resilience. These are going to be hugely important skills. These are super learnable and super practical. They get much better with practice. The skill of figuring out what other people want, I think this is also a learnable thing, and when AI can kind of do anything, create anything, then deciding what to do and what people value is going to be really important. And humans are so hardwired to care about other people and what other people create. I think that's going to keep going. Some people say it's figuring out what questions to ask, but I really think the answer is figuring out what other people want, what's going to sort of create value, how are you going to direct AI. And I used to be a startup investor at this firm called Y Combinator, and one of my biggest takeaways from that is the degree to which people can learn this skill is much higher than I would have thought, and something that I think we should teach.